You know, Mr. Madden is on his way down.
Oh, I'm sorry.
It's up, it's Maroon. Okay, I have not seen Colin, so I apologize. All right, we will call the meeting, the agenda meeting of February 13th, 2018. Tomorrow, we will have the approval of the minutes of the regular meeting of February 7th, 2018. Is there any comment or discussion on the minutes? Number 5 is authorization to advertise for bids to purchase and deliver 10 Journeys bariatric bed frames to Fair Acres Geriatric Center. Mr. Troilo, is that you?
Yes.
Okay.
Good morning, members of council, ladies and gentlemen. I'm here requesting authorization to advertise for Journeys beds for Fair Acres. This previously was a solicitation due to the amount of money that we bought. Fair Acres requested 5 beds last year. Total cost of that was under $25,000, which is a different procedure. It was a solicitation. We mailed the invitation to bid to 5 vendors, got responses, and the lowest bidder supplied the beds last year. This year we're requesting 10. It's going to be over $25,000, so we need council's involvement to request authorization to advertise and then go through the whole process.
Are there any questions or discussions for Mr. Troilo on this agenda item? Thank you, Mr. Troilo.
Thank you.
Item number 6 is the approval to purchase one 2018 Chrysler 300 all-wheel drive or AWD vehicle and one 2018 Durango SSV all-wheel drive vehicle from Bidian Dodge Chrysler Jeep of Newtown Square on the CoStar state contract, cost not to exceed $54,207. These are vehicles for use by the Criminal Investigation Division. Mr. Hudak, is that? Brian, I'm not sure that we've seen you yet this year. Mr. Hudak is the director of our motor pool and vehicle maintenance department, so why don't you tell us about this item?
These are purchases needed for 2 new hires in the CID department. CID runs, personal vehicles basically. They have use of the vehicles 24 hours a day because they're on call 24/7.
Well, why don't you tell us about what's the policy in regards to when we purchase vehicles? When new officers come on, we don't just purchase vehicles, I presume.
Right. We basically rotate vehicles. We have a mileage limit. There's other things that are taken into consideration, condition of the car, what it's used for. Certain members of CID have SUVs. They carry a lot of equipment to do investigations, things like that.
So are these vehicles 2 additional vehicles, or are they replacing vehicles?
These are 2
going out of
additional
service?
vehicles. These are 2 additional vehicles. We're short vehicles. Right now, the 2 new detectives that were hired at the beginning of the year are in pool vehicles without any lights and sirens. So these vehicles will be equipped with emergency equipment, radios, red and blue lights, so that they can get to their calls when they need to.
And these will go to more senior?
These vehicles will go to,
The new ones will get the older?
correct. Chief Ryan he and I usually discuss what we need, who's going to get them, and then the new guys kind of get the hand-me-downs.
And why don't you describe the CoStar contract program? Mr. Troy.
Chairman, we anticipated that question from you, and I guess I'm half prepared to answer. I'm being funny. CoStars is a program that is offered through the Commonwealth of Pennsylvania. Department of General Services. It's a cooperative purchasing program whereby DGS goes and puts the different items out to bid, receives responses, and then you could join as a member if you're spending public dollars, which obviously we are. Delaware County is a member. So we're able to purchase all CoStars and get that negotiated, competitively bid pricing without the expense of the manpower and the cost of advertising and going through the whole competitive bid process. So there are specific contracts, and in Brian's case, if you notice, we're purchasing under two separate CoStars contracts. One is a passenger vehicle, the other one is an emergency response vehicle. And essentially that's how it works. We get the CoStars contract number in purchasing. Our head buyer, Steve Lucas, always determines on the website whether it's valid still. Sometimes these contracts expire. And we also check out to see if the item that we're purchasing is in fact an enumerated item that's listed on that contract to buy. So we do our due diligence.
The Commonwealth lets bids for all various different items and obtains bid prices for those, and then through the CoStars program allows Pennsylvania governments to join in without having gone through the administrative process of bidding it themselves. Is that
100% correct.
Is there any discussion or questions for either Mr. Hudick or Mr. Troilo on this item?
Yeah, just so I understand the CoStars program a little bit better, Mr. Troilo. Is there a pre-arranged price for a particular purchasing item, or are there pre-approved vendors?
It's not a prearranged price. DGS, through the Commonwealth, will solicit responses to invitations to bid and get them, and then select the lowest responsible bidder.
So for this particular item, or for?
Right, for every item, every enumerated contract on the website.
So it's
And
essentially.
it's like thousands of different items.
So it's kind of like outsourcing the bidding process to a state entity.
Right, the state has taken on that responsibility, and in my opinion, it allows smaller units of government the autonomy to purchase items, but not actually have to go out and competitively bid them because it's already been done. It's not like we're just not doing it. DGS and the Commonwealth of Pennsylvania are already competitively bidding these items that we're purchasing under the CoStars contracts.
And so does DGS then determine that there's one bidder, one vendor who we'd be using going forward, or?
No, they'll accept any vendors who comply with their requirements initially. But the key is that vendor must provide a price point as to where the lowest bid came in. So I can't become a vendor, and there are different price points. Brian brought this up to me earlier today in our discussion. There's different, to use this as an example, there's different car dealerships where the prices will be different. So we'll give you, they meaning CoStars, will give you price X, for example, but I, as an owner of an auto dealership, I could go lower than that if I choose to, and honor that price with CoStars. Do you understand?
I don't.
Okay,
So
everything's put out
Let me
competitively.
rephrase the question if I can. So CoStar says, hey, we would like to accept bids for SUVs. And CoStars will say, in order to bid, you have to, I'm inferring this from previous comments you made, so I might be wrong, please correct me if I'm wrong. In order to comply with this bid, you have to meet the following criteria. It's got to be of X size, of X miles per gallon, whatever. It's got to have an 8-track tape player, whatever they decide is important. And it's also got to be priced at this price.
And when you say this price, Councilman Zionek, that price is the price that it was put out, and that's the number that was the lowest responsible bidder that responded when they put the competitive bid out, they meaning CoStar.
Could I try to be some help here?
Sure.
These are items that are bid by the Department of General Services for the Commonwealth. So the Commonwealth will do the bid, and then the CoStar program kicks in at the lowest responsible bidder's price. So if they did a bid that was spec'd the way you just described, 8-track tape player, 4 wheels, air conditioning, whatever the case may be, it'll come back at, $32,000, let's say, for that vehicle. Then the CoStar's program kick in. It's a piggyback concept, and the procurement laws say that if a bid is advertised as one that other municipalities or government entities will be allowed to participate in, then you can use this piggyback concept where someone can piggyback onto your bid. So DGS advertises it that way. They get a lowest responsible bid price, and then through CoStar's, other municipalities can participate.
Okay, so we've established then in your example that the price is $32,000 from a responsible bidder.
Yeah.
CoStarz, I assume, does not delineate, and that responsible bidder is XYZ Chevy in Pittsburgh?
Right, because anyone can come in and meet that price. So because it's been bid, as long as you can meet the lowest responsible bidder's price, you can participate.
So CoStarz really figures out the price.
Yeah.
They've gone out, they've figured out the competitive pricing that sort of, hits the mark.
DGS has put out a bid, for something in the Commonwealth, and they've gotten the lowest responsible bidder based on their
But
process.
then Delaware County can say, any vendor who would like to compete here, they must meet the CoStar's price.
Not exactly. So
We're not
the-
required to use a particular vendor.
Right, the vendor has to participate in the CoStar's program.
They had to have gone through the
So the
CoStar's.
vendor has to go to DJS and say, we'll meet that price, and please list us on the CoStar's list.
Okay, so it's got to be an approved vendor, i.e. approved meaning they went through the CoStar's program.
Correct.
So in this case, going back to the specifics of this one, how many other bidders, I guess within the realm of who we could have gone to, went through the CoStar's program and are on our list of people we could have chosen from?
Do you know?
There's 2 Dodge dealers in Delaware County that I priced these from, David Dodge and Vidian, and Vidian came in lower. The dealers themselves have the opportunity to put a markup on whatever vehicle you're pricing. Some of them run a documentation fee, some of them don't. So that's where it averages out to where you may be $100, $200 higher because of something else that you put in there.
So in this
So
case,
I used both Dodge dealers in Delaware County that are on the CoStar's list. I asked them for prices, got the prices back, and came to you with the bidding price because they were lower.
And I think what you said earlier is that they could go lower than $32,000.
They could, yes.
So CoStarz has created sort of a threshold, everybody's got to be here or below, but other than that, it's still fair game, so
Correct,
it still seems like we're bidding it out then, in some ways, other than qualifying.
but efficiently bidding it out, because we don't have to mail anything, we don't have to advertise. I go through the CoStar's list, see who's on the CoStar's list, and contact them. So it's more of an efficient process. You can use a local dealer that's not on CoStar's, and in that case, once you have that price, then we would have to bid it out.
I didn't get that part. So you're saying a vendor who wasn't on the initial CoStar's list can still bid?
Oh, yeah, yes.
So they don't have to be on the CoStar's list?
Well, they-
anyone, so long as they meet or exceed in terms of being lower?
Not
Now, if you're not on the CoStar's, then that's not a contract.
Okay.
So I think what Brian's saying is he could go to, if there was a vendor who sold these Dodge vehicles that they're looking for in Delaware County who wasn't on CoStar's, he could go to them to compare, whether they beat the CoStar's price, but he'd still have to go out to bid ultimately, buy from them unless they went and qualified for CoStar's.
Just, Councilman Madden, per our administrative code, it allows us to do what Mr. Madger said about piggybacking. If we went to a dealership that wasn't on CoStar's, then we would have to comply with the code and go through the whole competitive bidding process.
Because
So-
these folks who go through CoStars are bonded in the appropriate way, and everything. So it's not, you still have the protections that you would through a bid process. So you wouldn't have the same protections if you went to Joe's car dealership and he said 31.5. Well, by the time he gets bonded and everything else, he might be at 33.
Are any further questions or discussions regarding agenda item number 6?
Maybe just another question, and we're dead set on Dodges, is there a reason, do we have a particular desire for one type of car versus another, and how does that?
In this particular case, that question might be raised to Chief Ryan about what we use in CID for confidential purposes. A lot of the cars are used in confidentiality, so we have kind of a game plan as to what we're using, who's driving what.
Oh, because we don't want to have everybody in the same orange car that everybody knows. Okay.
Yes.
So we have a variety then of
We
different.
have all kinds. Anything that's on CoStars.
Okay.
Anything that we can buy from CoStars, we try to mix and match for this department. Other departments, we have 20 Caravans, 20 Fusions.
Has there been any pattern in terms of which Dodge dealers we keep going to?
We just started using Dodge about 3 or 4 years ago because they were the only, Vidian Dodge was the only one in Delaware County that was on CoStars. Just in the past 6 months, David Dodge got on CoStars, so now like I said, I priced both of them. In a Ford instance, there's 4 or 5 Delaware County dealerships that are on CoStars. So I'll run prices through all those. Chevrolet doesn't have any dealers that are on the CoStars list in Delaware County. So we go outside the county to buy Chevys when we need them.
And I think we've, in the past anyway, we've always expressed a preference that if there was a Delaware County vendor, we would like to use those, when we're using these piggyback purchasing programs.
Right, and it also helps with service. If I call a dealership and say, hey, we just bought, 3 cars from you, I need to get this car in and out, it's an emergency vehicle, they're more willing to say, yeah, bring it in, we'll, let them wait, we'll get it in and out, things like that. So we do that more for service also. So they're more willing to take care of us, kind of jump through hoops, when we're purchasing from them.
I'm sorry, I think I missed, you said Chevy, there weren't any CoStar vendors, and somebody else who said had 3 or 4, was that 4?
Ford has 3 or 4, Chevrolet doesn't have any, and I've contacted some of them in the county, and they're not. One of them may be trying to participate, but no other Chevy dealership in Delaware County is on CoStars. And 2, like I said, 2 Dodge dealers are on CoStars.
Thank you, gentlemen.
Thanks.
Agenda item number 7 is the approval of Central Tax Collection Department's request for refunds for the year 2017 county real estate taxes for 2 property owners due to the overpayment of the amount of taxes due. Mr. Dowd, our treasurer, is here. I don't know if we've got any further information.
Morning, Mr. Chairman, members of council. I'm asking for council approval to pay the refunds back to 2 homeowners in Delaware County for overpayment of taxes.
Questions or discussion? Thank you, Mr. Dowd.
Mr. Chairman, may I request something? This is a repetitive, cut and dry process every week. When somebody overpays their taxes, we automatically generate paperwork in order to pay them on time. Is my presence needed each week to explain this, or could I be...
Are you doing something better, Mr. Dowd?
Well, I usually have hardship hearings on Tuesdays at 9 o'clock, and fortunately we only had one this morning, but I do have things, Monday, Wednesday, Friday, we have conference calls for our building collection service, and that's been going on for 2 years. So I'm just asking, if I have to be here, I'll be here, but it's just overpayment of taxes when it comes to property owners paying, or court orders that's dictated by the courts to refund taxes. That's the 2 cut and dry requests that we do each month.
Well, we realize these are routine requests. We'll
Thank you,
consider
Mr.
your
Chairman.
request and get back to you.
Very much.
Item number 8 is the approval of amendment number 2 to the contract to Clearwater Construction Incorporated for reconstruction of the Addingham Bridge, which is County Bridge number 773, at Rosemont Avenue over Darby Creek, to decrease the contract sum in the amount of $54,374.56, subject to the solicitor's approval. Mr. Beerling, our Director of Public Works, is present. I know, Mr. Beerling, that this bridge is completed, and I imagine this is just the true up at the end of the project for quantities.
Exactly, Mr. Chairman. Good morning, and thank you, members of council. That's exactly where we are right now. We have $54,000 coming back. The amended contract sum was $1,876,339.48. This deduct change order will take us down to the amended contract of $1,812,964.96, leaving us a current payment due of $4,196.21. Balance to finish and retainage is zero, so that does finish the contract out.
So am I correct that when these contracts are let, there are certain unit prices for quantities such as beams or yards of concrete and that sort of thing that are estimated when the contract is bid, and then when the contract is actually carried out, those quantities are measured, and sometimes there's more that are used and sometimes there's less, and then those are, as I call them, evened out at the end of the contract?
Exactly, and all this is done through, I think I mentioned it last time I was before you, the engineering and construction system for PennDOT. So all the billing and everything and the estimates are all done through PennDOT. So when we go to pay a contractor, it's all PennDOT approved, and it goes through a process where it's submitted, and there's 2 or 3 other approvals that are actually overseeing what we're actually doing. So this would conclude that portion of the bridge, and the bridge is open. If you haven't been down there, it's a nice looking bridge.
Are there questions or discussions for Mr. Beerling?
I have a question. What becomes of this money then? I assume all of it is not ours, some of it is shared with...
It's a percentage share, and that will go back to PennDOT. I believe on this particular bridge, it was an 8, 15, and 5. I think we put in 5%, so we'll get something back on
And that
that.
would be the liquid fuels.
That would be, yes.
General fund.
Exactly.
Okay, so we'll get $2,600, $2,700 back to the liquid fuels fund.
Basically, yeah.
And Mr. Bureau, just so I understand, when you say coming back, is there actually cash coming back? Did we already pay this amount? Or
Well,
is this just...
PennDOT has it. It was on the books for us to use. So they actually have it. So it's money they're not going to release to us or to the contractor.
Is PennDOT kind of hold it in escrow?
It's actually through ECMS,
Okay.
which is, it's a state system that we can go on, when work's done and the project manager submits a bill, we actually go on and we can see it getting approved, and we're actually part of the process of approving this sum to what they're done. So we're kind of agreeing with the work that is done, that the contractor has done, and the project manager's overseeing. So it's a good series of checks and balances.
Jack, it's basically an encumbrance on our bridge fund, right?
Exactly.
So when they release this encumbrance, it goes back into our bridge fund, and
Yes.
we're able to use that money for another bridge project.
Right.
Are there any further questions for Mr. Beerling? Thank you, sir. I'm sorry, number 9 is the approval of amendment number 1 to the contract with J.D. Ekman Incorporated for the construction of the Chester Creek pedestrian trail to decrease the contract sum in the amount of $317,309.18. Mr. Beerling, I bet you're going to be our favorite department this week.
I was figuring I might get that from the members of council, and coming in and doing a decrease to the contract sum amount is definitely a pleasure. This contract here was originally $6,573,713.85. With this deduct change order, the new contract amount is $6,256,404.67, leaving balance in the finish and retainage of zero. And this is the phase 1 of the trail that we're doing. We actually are having a works right now with the planning department. The phase 2, which will be starting after we get the engineering done and everything on that. And in the audience I have with me was Mr. Ryan Judge. If we have any questions on phase 2 that he could answer. And we're getting ready to bid the engineering part of that out. But That's the amount that we have coming back, is $317,309.18. Yes.
This one, I'm going to ask how much we get back with that.
That I would have to get back to you on, Mr. Zidek. I'll have an answer for you tomorrow.
Because again, I assume that's split, the state has provided some money as well.
In fact, that might be,
That's 100% grant.
that's 100% grant money.
Yeah, this is 100% federal transportation dollars, so none of that money will come back to us. It's just cleaning up the contract amounts.
Okay. Is that of any use to us in the sense of establishing to the grantors our good stewardship of their monies? I mean, do we get to brag on it today? Does it facilitate?
We can certainly try. Yeah, I don't think these things are pretty typical in this sort of projects. I think they're used to it, but we can try and toot our own horn as much as possible.
Okay. Just to show our efficiency and our good stewardship of the grant funds, I suppose.
Mr. Judge, are Green Pen funds in here also?
This is not William Penn funds. This is all federal CMAQ funding allocated through DVRPC.
So we do have that coming back. I know in the past we've been able to sort of make that argument that we had $300,000 come back on this. If the engineering costs are exceed, what would have been budgeted through DVRPC, we might be able to, DVRPC in the past have been pretty good about balancing those equities.
Yeah, that's correct.
Okay. Well, Mr. Judge, could you speak a little bit about phase 2 of the Chester Creek Trail?
So
we spoke briefly, I think, last meeting or the one before, there was an RFP that's ready to go out for the engineering work.
That's correct. So phase 2 is funded partially through DCNR and partially through William Penn Foundation. So we have to get approval from DCNR to release the RFP. So we just finalized the draft RFP. We'll get that off to the state. They'll okay it. They'll give us a list of vendors to go out to, along with a list that we have in-house that we've used in the past that we've been happy with. We'll send that out probably in the next few months, get bids back, and then start the engineering process. With the permitting process and all that, it'll probably take a few years to go through that. In the meantime, we'll start collecting grant money for construction of the trail. That'll be about 1.5 miles south of phase 1 from the terminus in Creek Road down to Bridgewater Road, mostly in Aston Township.
And so I'm hearing years then.
With the DEP and the permitting process, yeah, it'll probably take more than a year or two to get 2 shovels in the ground on that.
And then that takes some time.
Yeah, I don't have an estimate on that at this point until we actually get into the engineering process.
Okay. So the only thing within our control then is sending out the RFP for approval to some acronym I missed.
For DCNR, yeah, that's correct.
So that's the only thing within our control.
And then working with an engineer that has good experience with the local PennDOT district, the local DEP region, who can help to streamline that process as much as possible.
So right now, first step is get the RFP off to the DCNR.
That's correct.
And then when they come back and approve it, then we will seek to work with an engineering firm that could do its work expeditiously.
That's correct.
Right, so then the next thing council would see on their agenda would be an authorization. You'll make a recommendation after going through this whole process on which engineering company firm to use.
Yes.
And then that would be an agenda item, right? And then it would be able to move forward with an engineering company.
That's correct.
All right, well, with whatever haste one can do, while still being judicious, I would
Absolutely.
what's not to be done.
Absolutely.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you.
Item number 10 is approval of agreements, contracts, and amendments with human services providers of service. As per the list that is attached to our agenda, Mr. Doherty, the Director of Human Services for the county, is here. And if you want to describe what these proposed contracts are.
The first one is a training contract with Training for Change. The Department of Drug and Alcohol Programs has mandated the use of this ASAM criteria, which is the American Society of Addiction Medicine. This is a mandate statewide. This provider is the sole provider of this training. So this contract is to engage this provider for the training. It will train approximately 120 people from our providers throughout the county over 3 sessions. And that's
What type of service providers are we talking about?
all our drug and alcohol providers in the county. So this criteria deals with assessment, placement, continued stay, and discharge criteria. So the state wants a standard assessment and criteria used.
And then the other 3
And
are
this is
subsidized
100%
daycare.
state funded. I'm sorry, that was 100% state funded, the training. And then we also have subsidized daycare providers. We administer the subsidized daycare program for the state. It's all state and federal dollars. We are the administrator for the county, so we enroll people, we contract with providers, we pay providers, and the fee is based on income, what people pay for subsidized daycare. So these are 3 providers that we ask. And as you see, they are backdated, they are retroactively dated. These 3 were because of name changes or changes to their federal employee identification, federal employment identification number.
Are there any questions for Mr. Doherty on this item or discussion on the same? All right, thank you, Mr. Doherty. Item number 11 would be the resolution recognizing February 8th to 14th as National Engineers Week. I would be the one on council presenting that. And item number 12 is a resolution recognizing 2018 as All Delaware Reads Program, and with the Delaware County Reading Council, and Councilman Madden will present that for the council. Item number 13 is the request by the Controller's Office for the payment of current bills. I did note this morning that the list of bills have been provided to council and available for their review. Is there any discussion on?
Yeah, I thought this week was the payroll. Those are the last week's bills.
Okay, I just saw the staff at the table this
Right,
morning.
This is a payroll week.
Okay.
Yeah.
So, Mr. Solicitor, Mr. Magic.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I'm going to have one thing tomorrow, and that's going to be a request to ratify my motion to intervene in the Adelphia Pipeline Gateway matter before the Federal Energy Regulatory Commission.
Why don't you give us a further explanation?
Okay. Adelphia Gateway is repurposing an existing pipeline that runs from Northampton County to Marcus Hook. Actually, I guess currently it would be better stated that it runs from Marcus Hook to Northampton County. It has been used historically to transport oil from Marcus Hook up to Northampton County. Adelphia Gateway already repurposed the northern 34 miles of that to transport natural gas, and they're looking to do the southern 50 miles of that, so from Marcus Hook up to transport natural gas as well. And I got it backwards again. So it used to be oil from Marcus Hook up, and now it's natural gas down to Marcus Hook. So Marcus Hook will be the terminus now. Then they're adding some additional facilities, although not pipeline facilities, but ancillary facilities. I entered my appearance because the deadline is today, and I didn't want to miss the opportunity. It's been a very abbreviated schedule. Notice of this this application was filed in mid-January, and notice of its acceptance went out January 26th to some of our local municipalities. It basically comes in the western part of Delaware County through Concord, goes through Chester Heights and Bethel, Upper Chichester, and I believe through Lower Chichester into Marcus Hook.
And repeat again, what is the agency that you're filing your appearance before?
It's the Federal Energy Regulatory Commission, FERC.
And are they the agency that would issue any permits for whatever work is to be done on this?
That's correct. This would be a FERC overseen pipeline.
And does Delaware County issue any permits related to it?
No, I just wanted us to be informed on the process, and that's why I entered my appearance.
So by entering our appearance, that preserves the ability of the county to make official comment, and intervene or be involved in whatever that permitting process is.
That's correct.
Is it your intention to intervene or be involved in whatever permitting process exists?
I guess it depends on how the process goes, Mr. Zidek. I mean, because everything came so quick with this, I don't know that everybody's got all the information that they want to make a decision. And that's why I moved to intervene, so the council would have the time to do any analysis it wanted to and instruct me accordingly.
And I think you said this is natural gas as opposed to the natural gas liquids that we've discussed in the Marion Reese project.
That's correct.
Is there any further discussion on Mr. Match's report? Are there any further items from council in regards to the agenda? Hearing none, now is the time for public comment. For members of the public, if you wish to be heard, please just come up to the microphone and give us your name and address for the record. Let us know what your comment is.
Good morning.
Good morning, sir.
Chairman McLean, members of the council, fellow citizens of Delaware County. Sir, my name is Hugh Roberts. I am a resident of, 24-year resident of Delaware County. I live in Boylan. Most people don't know where that is. It's actually part of Nether Providence near the the Boylan Rose Valley train station. I am coincidentally, after retiring, I joined an effort to change the redistricting laws in Pennsylvania. It's a constitutional requirement. And in that effort, I became the Delaware County Coordinator for Fair Districts PA. Fair Districts PA is a statewide organization founded by the League of Women Voters and Common Cause, and is focused on introducing a transparent, citizens-based commission to draw the districts after the 2020 census. And there's two bills that are currently before the legislature as we speak in committee. So anyway, without going through all the details of that, I'm really just requesting the opportunity to present to the council next week on Wednesday, briefly, this a resolution in support of this. So it's asking the Delaware County Council to support this resolution behind these two bills. Just quickly, almost the entire delegation of the congressional or the state delegation of Delaware County has already co-sponsored these bills, all but 3 of them, in fact. So all 4 senators, Senator Killian, by the way, is a he's the vice chair of the committee where this currently is in reside. So anyway, without getting into all the details, I'm really just asking for the opportunity to make a presentation in support of the resolution next week on the 21st. I picked that particular date just quickly because there's a luncheon immediately following that with the League of Women Voters, who are very much participants, sponsors of this organization, Fair Districts, and it would be great to have the council adopt the resolution and then sort of celebrate it with lunch with the League of Women Voters. And I did supply an email to you folks, but if you don't have it or if you need anything else to make that decision, I've got material that I can give you. Okay?
Yeah, I believe we all probably received your email, Mr. Roberts, and the materials that are in there, and so council can think about that and decide whether or not they want to take any action on that.
All right, great, thank you.
Thank you. Is there any further public comment? Hearing none, is there a motion to adjourn?
Motion to adjourn, Mr. Chairman.
Is there a second?
I'll second.
All in favor? Aye. Any opposed? Thank you very much.
So you did put that on motion earlier. I'm going to need to ratify it.
I got that, okay. I didn't know that you actually did that as council. I just looked at the interview process.
You can do it on behalf of the city or
So the status, you did file for another status.
Yeah, this is good.
I filed it back.
Well, I mean, figure out the crown that we bought. I tested
You're
Stop recording before
You don't
Right.
need
I'm
any
not
other
sure why.
contract.
Yeah. So I can figure to do like a recording for a
I'm
while
gonna
today.
try again
Yeah.
and really keep my eye on.
Right.
Figure out, it could be simple for cars.
It might be,
So.
or maybe the card should go more than 2 hours there, right?
Well, it's just go 5.5 hours.
Yeah.
The one goes for-
Right.
So.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah. No, okay, right, okay, good.